Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 8 o'clock, it's 79 degrees in Milwaukee. Today, sunny, breezy, and hot and humid with a high of 97 with a heat index of up to 110. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Nazir Spencer. Lawmakers in Washington are reacting after the president ordered bombing attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities. ABC's Rachel Scott reports from Washington.
The decision to strike dividing lawmakers. Sources say Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune were briefed prior to the strike. After the president announced, Johnson writing online, President Trump has been consistent and clear that a nuclear-armed Iran will not be tolerated. This is America First policy in action. Democrats pushing back, with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries saying President Trump failed to deliver on his promise to bring peace to the Middle East.
Tensions are now rising over fear of broader conflict across the region. As the country sees a rise in political violence, one former lawmaker says more needs to be done. Professor Emeritus at UW-Milwaukee, Mordecai Lee, tells Wisconsin's Midday News.
The problem with when there's a threat against an elected official, it's sort of like when there's a threat, a bomb scare at a school. You know, you never have the police say, that can't be true. It's only 1 in a million. Police always take every threat against a school seriously. And I'm afraid we're now living in a world 30 years later where we have to take every single one seriously.
Lee says the current rhetoric in American politics is degrading people's trust in leaders and politicians. A Milwaukee woman's family members face charges for beating and fatally shooting her on a sidewalk.
30-year-old Ashley Hudson was shot and left dead on the sidewalk near Vliet Street and MLK Drive Monday night. Milwaukee police say her 22-year-old sister, Aaliyah Friesen, got into a fight with Hudson over a social media post and beat her with a bat. Hudson's 15-year-old brother, Haziel Friesen, then shot her. The brother faces 1 charge of first-degree intentional homicide, and the sister faces 1 count of aggravated battery. Hudson's mother, Tara Hudson, is being charged with obstruction for allegedly lying about witnessing the shooting. Jessica Gatso, WTMJ News.
Gas prices are up 12 cents a gallon compared to earlier this week in Milwaukee. Patrick DeHaan with Gas Buddy tells Wisconsin's Afternoon News the cause can be tied to conflict in the Middle East.
If there is escalation in the Middle East, we may see more of an impact to gas prices in the weeks ahead. During Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it reached $120 a barrel. So far, we haven't quite got to 80. We've gotten very close. So all in all, this situation is probably not as impactful as several incidents in the past. As I mentioned, 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we saw oil prices jump to $120 a barrel. So at least for now, the situation is much more subdued than those past incidents.
DeHaan says if the conflict continues, gas prices could jump another 25 cents. Cooling centers are opened, and local officials are urging people to be safe during extreme heat this weekend.
During dangerously hot conditions, Wisconsin State Patrol puts an emphasis on stranded vehicles to make sure people are safe on the roadways. Inspector Tyler Koenig tells WTMJ.
So don't be afraid to give us a call. We can show up and assist as needed. But another thing is to be mindful of your location. So if we're going to respond to assist, or they're going to need a tow truck driver to respond to assist, they're going to need to know their location.
Meanwhile, health officials are reminding people to drink plenty of water and limit time outdoors. Neil Doyle, WTMJ News.
Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 8:04.
Sponsored by Accunet Mortgage.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
After writing 3 unsuccessful offers, Brenda decided to make a no-regrets offer on this next property. She offered $35,000 over asking and promised to complete the purchase even if the appraised value came in as much as $25,000 below the accepted offer price. Why? Because she was tired of losing, and because her Accunet loan consultant showed her that even in her worst-case scenario, no additional money would be needed at closing, and her payment, which on this home was much more affordable than others she wrote offers on, would only increase by $17 a month. Brenda's no-regrets offer, backed up by a rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from Accunet, was accepted over several others. And wouldn't you know, the appraised value came in at the significantly higher than asking purchase price, which happens 9 out of 10 times in our experience. If you or someone you know wants help understanding what a no-regrets pre-approval might look like, get started by clicking on the blue button at Accunet.com. That's ACCUNET.com. HasselUS.com.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
Well,
I'm asking for a friend.
the best way to remove urine from a mattress is to trade in that old mattress for a new Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hasselus Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. And that's on top of our everyday low prices.
Come on, everybody says lowest prices.
Others sell a Sealy Posturepedic Queen Emeryville A mattress for $1268. Hasselus sells it for $1034. But through Monday, it's just $786. And check out the low prices on Beautyrest and more. Plus, free next day delivery.
What does my friend do with his old soaked mattress?
We haul it away for pee.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. It was a decisive game Saturday night as the Brewers won against the Twins in Minneapolis, winning 9-0. The Brew Crew continues their series from Target Field with the first pitch at 1:10 this afternoon. The NBA Finals Game 7 is set for tonight in Oklahoma against the Thunder and the Pacers. The final game of the series starts at 7 p.m. Taking a look at the roads with the WTMJ Time Saver traffic. No major issues, no major delays, and full freeway speeds across the system.
This report sponsored by Exterior Pros and Baths. Trust the pros and kick off your home transformation. Want to save big on your next home improvement project? Visit extpros.com today for expert services at unbeatable prices.
Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Today, sunny, breezy, hot, and humid with a high of 97. Heat index up to 110. Tonight, mainly clear and muggy with a low of 78. Monday, partly cloudy, still hot and humid with a chance of storms at night with a high of 95. Heat index up to 105. Tuesday, partly cloudy with shower storms likely with a high of 80. Wednesday, partly cloudy with a chance of storms with a high of 81. Thursday, partly cloudy, slight chance of storms with a high of 75. Right now, in Madison, it's 79. In Green Bay, it's 82. In Waukesha, it's 80. In Milwaukee, it's 79 degrees. I'm Nazir Spencer, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 8:07.
This is Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News with Adam Roberts.
And a good Sunday morning to you. Adam Roberts with you on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Libby Collins off today, but we will be hearing from Libby later on this morning on WTMJ as part of WTMJ Conversations. We have a lot, and I mean a lot, to get to. Obviously, the big news from late Saturday, the second straight weekend now. We've had breaking news on a weekend and late on it, that for that matter on Saturday. The breaking news, of course, from late in the day, President Trump announcing a successful, in his words, bombing campaign against Iranian nuclear sites.
Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success.
We're learning a little bit more this morning about the who, what, where, when, and why of the operation, which is received the code name Midnight Hammer. We learned from that General Dan Kanan. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth speaking earlier this morning. We learned that we had seen B-2 bombers were being deployed over the Pacific. That was reported earlier in the day on Saturday. Per the general, that was all part of the plan.
As part of the plan to maintain tactical surprise, part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy. A deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders here in Washington and in Tampa.
The general calling this the largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history. In total, we're learning around 125 aircraft from the U.S. participated in some way in Operation Midnight Hammer, which struck these Iranian nuclear facilities, 3 of them around 6:40 and 7:05 Eastern Time Saturday evening, and then the president taking to Truth Social shortly thereafter as the planes were leaving Iranian airspace to confirm the attack. The president, in an address to the nation late Saturday, also with a stern warning for Iran.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
We're already seeing a bit of a response from the Iranian government. ABC's Maggie Rulli with that.
Iran's foreign minister calling the attacks lawless and criminal, adding it reserves all options to defend its sovereignty, interests, and people. The country then launching missiles towards Israel, sirens sounding over Tel Aviv as Iranian missiles were intercepted, officials urging people to seek shelter. Israel Fire and Rescue said it received several reports of direct damage to residential buildings in 3 districts.
Again, ABC's Maggie Rulli with the Iranian response. So throughout the morning on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News, we'll analyze how this unfolded, where things go from here. We had previously discussed, if the U.S. is to get involved, will Iran utilize proxies in the Middle East to send missiles towards U.S. bases? They have insinuated that that could be the case. Is there also the potential for lone wolf actors domestically? What does the situation look like? We'll take a little bit closer look throughout the morning on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Also, other big story happening this weekend, and if you step outside, you will feel it already at 8:10. It is the heat. Day 2 of a 3-day expected heat wave that is impacting southeast Wisconsin. Really, it's impacting all of Wisconsin. Right now, if you check the outage map, it's about just under 6,000 customers across the state without power across all utility providers in Wisconsin, specifically here in southeast Wisconsin. Just checking the outage map now. The numbers are down significantly from where they were yesterday, about 3,000 customers this morning without power. This was up around 30,000 during parts of the day on Saturday. If you went out to Summerfest, you definitely felt it. They, of course, changed the rules a bit. You were able to bring in a 20-ounce water bottle with you as a carry-in when you went to the festival, and that was certainly appreciated by myself and my wife. We were at the Japanese breakfast show, put on a great performance, and I'm very happy that it was 9:30 as opposed to a midday show, which they have done before at Summerfest. But again, that heat warning, extreme and variety, continues until 7 p.m. on Monday. This is for the Lakeshore counties, Milwaukee and South, Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties. We also have that heat advisory for everywhere else in southeast Wisconsin running until the same time. We're going to check in with Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky later on in the program. He's got some good news. If you can just get through Monday, it looks as though finally the relief will come. But between now and then, not only is it hot, not only is it humid, but you also are noticing probably the wind. You certainly did on Saturday. And it's basically like if you take a furnace and then blow all of the air directly out of it, it's making things arguably worse to have a breeze. No such thing as cooler near the lake this weekend. Also happening yesterday.
I get surprised every time still. Miss Madison!
So a little bit of deception there. This is sound from New Berlin at the 2025 Miss Wisconsin pageant. You heard the announcer say Miss Madison, but that was the first runner-up. I always hate when they do this at competitions and announce second place before first place, because then you know who's going to win, and then there's sound, and then you never hear that. So that means, but indeed, Miss Wisconsin 2025 announced on Saturday night. It is Willow Newell, 22 years old, from Racine, setting history in the state of Wisconsin as the state's first Black Miss Wisconsin winner in the organization's 79-year history. We will be talking later this hour with the new Miss Wisconsin. Willow Newell joins us around 8:30 today. I said there's a lot to get to on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. We've also got a tease for our upcoming WTMJ Conversations. Reporter's Notebook, you've been hearing it recently the last few weeks. I'm happy to host the new revival of the show, if you will. We've got another episode coming up for you at 10 this morning. We'll preview that. Also, we have another Driver's Ed with Debbie, our lovely Debbie Lazaga, in the traffic centers, put something together on boater safety this week. So that is driving. It's just not on the roads. Also have another Everyday Hero, courtesy of WTMJ's Eric Bilstead, who I also learned is a Japanese breakfast fan himself. He was at the performance, admittedly, with better seats than I had in the standing room only section last night. And speaking of Summerfest, we've got a giveaway to get you later on during the program. We'll give you a key in on that. And we'll recap weekend one of the 3-weekend affair that is the world's largest music festival. It is 8:14. I'm Adam Roberts, filling in for Libby Collins. We've got Nazir Spencer working in the newsroom, and Isaac Marquardt is behind the glass, pushing the buttons and keeping us on time and on track. It's 8:14 on WTMJ. We got sports coming up next.
Monica, we've got to hand it to you.
You and the design team have outdone yourselves.
Are you talking about the One Collection?
Those rings say you are the one.
And they say it symbolically.
Describe the symbols.
Every ring in the One Collection should be presented with a special ritual.
What would that ritual be?
You pick up her left hand and you place a kiss on her ring finger.
Rick, you never told me about that part.
Then you show her the tiny red diamond, flush mounted inside the ring, that will forever be in contact with her finger.
Why is it red?
Because that's when the giver says to the one, wherever you go, my heart goes with you.
I give you this kiss. I give you my heart.
The red diamond is a secret symbol of that sacred moment.
The center diamond on the outside of the ring is for the whole world to see.
But the tiny red created diamond inside the ring is only for the two of them.
The One Collection of engagement rings is available exclusively at Kessler's.
To find the Kesslers nearest you,
visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
You'll find that the licensed and certified electricians from Quality are top-notch. We've been around for over 60 years, so expect nothing but the best. And here's the kicker. With over 60 vehicles out there on the roads, you're not going to have to wait very long at all for the electrical service you need now. This is Anthony Zanevsky. For all your residential electrical needs, call Quality.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Over 60 years in business, with over 60 vehicles out in the field so we can respond ultra quickly to your emergency AC needs. When you call Quality for emergency AC service, you can count on a swift response to get the job done right away. So if the heat's got you to the point where it's just too hot to handle, call Quality and we'll get you the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call, That's All Sports desk. It was a no-doubt win for your Milwaukee Brewers in the Twin Cities on Saturday. It was a win 9-0 that was lopsided enough that even Minnesota appeared to have enough by the time the final at-bat came around.
And it's a swing and a miss. It gets by Contreras, and Lee just giving himself up. He's going to get tagged out, and that's going to end the ball game. He could have reached first base, and instead he quit. And Lee is done. And so are the Twins.
Brewers Radio Network with the call. Yet when you're down 9-0 and it's 105 feel like in Minneapolis, yep, time to pack it up and head on home. Jose Quintana doing pretty good on the mound. 6 innings, a 3-hit ball for the Brewers. Interesting nugget after the game. FanDuel Sports Network Sophia Minnaert talking with manager Pat Murphy. A lot of the runs recently for the Brewers have been small ball. A lot of singles, doubles, RBIs, getting batters, base runners in without hitting home runs, and an interesting nugget from Murph.
What do you make of that, of just how they're being woodpeckers?
Yeah, I love it. We're being little woodpeckers and probably should get in the weight room.
All right, and I don't, is he saying, are we a bunch of spindly little guys? I think the only one that maybe has that title is Jacob Mizorowski, or The Miz, or if you ask our Dominic Cotroneo, the Slim Reaper. Right-hander Quinn Priester, he gets the start for the Brewers today, going for the sweep in the Twin Cities. He'll be up against right-hander David Festa for Minnesota. Our coverage begins with Brewers warm-up. That's right after the 12 o'clock news here on your home of the Brewers, WTMJ. Some Bucks news. Guard Pat Connaughton exercising his $9.4 million player option for the upcoming season. That according to ESPN's Shams Charania. Connaughton had a deadline of Tuesday to make a decision on the option. And it is Game 7 tonight in the NBA Finals. Pacers and Thunder. Oshkosh native Tyrese Halliburton, remember, he was a game-time decision for Game 6 in Indiana. Says no concerns. He's ready to roll tonight.
Pretty much in the same standpoint I was before Game 6. Still a little stiff, a little sore, rather. Good thing I only had to play like 23 minutes, so been able to get even more treatment and do more things. So just trying to take care of it the best I can, but I'll be ready to go for Game 7.
Game 7 tipping off tonight at 7, that over on ABC. It is 8:19, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts filling in for Libby Collins. We'll have a check of weather coming up in a minute, and then WTMJ's Tiff Pua sitting down with the Milwaukee Business Journal's editor-in-chief, Timothy Gibbons, with a check on our business headlines. It's 8:19.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 24th.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes!
Kick
Watch the Brewers on local TV as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness. Third down.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Tune in June 24th at 6:40 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check your local listings to watch the game.
The Cane Table from Penny Mustard is more than just a table.
It's hosted countless brunches and long conversations with friends.
It's served as an emergency office on snow days or when the kids come down with the crew.
It's seen its fair share of crumbs between the leaves.
Or drool from the dog waiting for food to drop.
The Cane Table is made for signing important documents,
holding family meetings,
and painstakingly piecing together puzzles.
It's headquarters for homework,
craft projects,
board games,
and the wrapping of various gifts.
The Cane's Encore chairs have been used to relax,
to build blanket forts,
or to help reach something on the back of the top shelf.
It's not about food.
It's about memories.
So it's gotta last.
It's made in the Midwest, so it will.
For generations to come.
The Cane Dining Room Table with 6 Encore chairs starting at $61.97 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
It is another scorcher today. If you were sick of it yesterday, I have bad news. It's basically going to be a carbon copy today. Looking at the forecast from Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky, 97 are high today, and he's upped the heat index value to 110. Potentially for southeast Wisconsin, and no surprise, extreme heat warning remains in effect for Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties until 7. We also have a heat advisory for everywhere else across southeast Wisconsin. That's till 7 on Monday, I should clarify. Tonight, a low of 78, clear and muggy, and continued hot tomorrow, 95, up to 105 heat index on Monday. It's 8:21 on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News.
I'm Tiff Pua, news director with 620 WTMJ, and I'm joined by editor-in-chief of the Milwaukee Business Journal, Timothy Gibbons. We've got big business news, both good and bad this week. We're going to start with the good. So, Timothy, tell me about some big tech investments that are coming to southeast Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's always good to start with the good news. So, Yaskaware America is a company that has had a presence in the area for a while. But the big news this week is that it's massively growing that presence. It plans to invest $180 million, which would create about 700 jobs in Franklin. It's doing that by basically combining the facility it has in Wisconsin already in Oak Creek, as well as a facility it has in Illinois. It's going to bring those two together. It's going to move its headquarters from Illinois to Wisconsin. So a big move for the area.
So they're not only just moving jobs and investments, but there's also tax credits involved here as well.
There are. So they say that the tax credits given by the state, and they're also looking for local incentives, were key in them making the move. They're going to be eligible for $18 million in state enterprise zone tax credits. I say eligible for $18 million. The exact amount they get depends basically on how many jobs they create and how much they invest in equipment. But it's a big project. The company makes robots, basically. Go more complicated, but honestly, it kind of boils down to they make robots, which are then used in other manufacturing operations.
So why is there desire to see kind of southeast Wisconsin grow as a tech hub? There's many more companies that are starting to invest in our area, but why is it so attractive to companies like Yaskawa?
So it's an interesting thing because it's something that economic development folks tell us is basically it's a way of building on the deep roots that Milwaukee and the broader Milwaukee area has in manufacturing. You know, a lot of our listeners probably are aware that what we think of as manufacturing these days really is a high-tech business. I mean, there's a reason why you have things like the Waukesha County Technical College has an AI program, because these jobs are generally well paid, they're generally very skilled, but it taps into what the area has always done, which is make stuff.
And do we think there's actually a labor base here in southeast Wisconsin to be able to fulfill those jobs?
There is. That is a challenge that manufacturers in general talk to us about. There is a skilled and talented workforce, but there isn't necessarily enough of those workers. If you are in manufacturing, hiring the workers that you need can be challenging. So I had a roundtable discussion with a bunch of manufacturing CEOs recently, and that was one of the things that is very much top of mind for them. You know, and this plays into some of these things when we talk about tariffs and trying to reshore manufacturing into the U.S., that It is not easy to get people to operate these machines, to do this skilled labor. Southeast Wisconsin does have, again, deep roots and a workforce that is trained in those areas, but it is not easy to find people.
Well, let's flip over then to some good news. We have companies already here that are expanding. Tell us about what's going on at ProHealth Waukesha.
Yeah, so this is a different type of tech, but is a big deal for the area. So ProHealthcare has launched a $125 million renovation project at its Waukesha Memorial Hospital. It's doing two things. It's expanding their facility by about 13,000 square feet, and then it's renovating a bunch of other things. The point is to basically pull together a bunch of different surgery-related things, day surgery, recovery rooms, radiology. They're going to put them all together in one area, which will make their operation more efficient. You might remember last year, this was kind of a big deal. They renovated their neonatal intensive care unit. That was a $25 million project. Then they moved into this bigger $125 million project.
What does this mean for people in the area that are looking for services and care?
It should make things a little more efficient. So the hospital has a good reputation and obviously already serves a big chunk of the population, but this would just make the entire process of getting that care a little more efficient.
We're talking with Timothy Gibbons, who's editor-in-chief of the Milwaukee Business Journal. We'll go from good news to bad news. We do have layoffs coming to our area for a particular Milwaukee company. Tell us a little bit about what's happening at Milwaukee Forge.
Yeah, possible layoffs. We'll know for sure in coming weeks, but Milwaukee Forge, long running company. I mentioned a moment ago of the area's deep roots in manufacturing. This is a company that's more than 100 years old, and they do kind of this like core manufacturing sort of thing, as their name implies, Milwaukee Forge. So they have ran into financial trouble. They've been in receivership for several months, and this week there was supposed to be an auction of the business that would basically help satisfy the more than $7 million that they own to the bank. That auction did not generate the type of bids that they were hoping for. So basically none of the bids met the criteria that they had set. So auction got called off, and it's a little bit unclear what happens now exactly. The owners say that they do plan on continuing to work on this. Right now, the business is still operating. It's still a going concern. But with the auction having failed, they have said that they are uncertain what that future will be and that they are going to have to consider laying people off as soon as August.
How many jobs are we talking about here at Milwaukee Forge?
There's about 80 people there.
And in terms of timing for something like this, is a process like this usually this drawn out?
The hope is that the auction obviously leads to the resolution. And leading up to the auction, the receivership people were actually optimistic that they would find a buyer. This isn't the first time that Milwaukee Forge has been in receivership. Several years ago, it had been affected by the economic downturn, went into receivership, was purchased by the now current owners. So the process worked then, and I think there was the hope that it was going to work this time as well.
Well, besides Milwaukee Forge, we're also anticipating another retailer potentially closing after bankruptcy filing. Tell us about what's going on at Home.
Yeah, so At Home, they only have one location here in the area that is slated to be closed, but it's a home good retailer. They have gotten into bankruptcy. They are planning on restructuring coming out of it, but they are closing down several dozen stores, and one of them is the store in Wauwatosa on Mayfair Road. That store is going to shut down by the end of September.
So are we seeing a trend for consumers when it comes to home goods? Is this kind of an indicator of what could happen to other locations?
The retail landscape is just so complicated right now. Obviously for us, one that we spend a lot of time focusing on is Kohl's, which is going through its own challenges. But like Kohl's has said that they see sales dropping by 5 or 6 or 7% this year. They're dealing with the challenges of tariffs because a lot of the goods that they sell are manufactured overseas. Rent costs continuing to be challenging for some retailers. So you end up with a just really hard situation. These aren't necessarily really high margin businesses. So you look at something like At Home Group. They specifically say that tariffs are one of the reasons that they are looking at and having more challenges. More people are buying stuff online. That's always a challenge for these brick and mortar businesses as well.
He's Timothy Gibbons, the editor-in-chief of the Milwaukee Business Journal. Thank you so much for joining us again this morning.
Absolutely. Have fun out there.
8:28, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Thank you, Tiff and Tim. We got bottom of the hour headlines next.
The Census Bureau says more than 12,000 Americans turn 65 each day. It's a surge they call Peak 65, the highest number in history. Some Annex clients retire early. Some keep working because they love it. You know why? Because they've got custom plans built by fee-only fiduciaries. They identified their wants and needs, and we went to work. We want to do the same for you. Annex does financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Visit AnnexWealth.com and click the Get Started button.
Are you tired of watching stock market swings hit your portfolio? Phoenix Energy provides investors with 9 to 13% annual interest rates through corporate bond offerings in the oil and gas sector. Start today and get monthly deposits directly into your bank account. Phoenix Energy conducts offerings pursuant to Rule 506C under Regulation D. Alternative investments are speculative, illiquid, and you may lose some or all of your investment. Securities are offered by Delmore Group, member FINRA SIPC. Delmore Group and Phoenix Energy are not affiliated. Learn more by visiting phoenixenergy.com/iHeart to register for a free investor webinar.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
We see you out there building a life you love, knowing that when inspiration strikes, nothing should get in your way. At Blaine's, we're here to help with everything you need to make it happen at prices that make it possible. Like $150 off a Hobart 210 MVP MIG welder. Save $55 on a Flowtech convertible jet well pump. All Steelworks welding stock 10% off. Plus, we offer Blaine's best price promise, guaranteeing the lowest price with us or we'll match it. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Be an original.
8:30 Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins, joined by WTMJ's Nazir Spencer in from the newsroom. Nazir, we're learning more about this shooting involving a family that happened near downtown Milwaukee. I would call it downtown. This is near Vliet and Martin Luther King Drive. This was earlier in the past week, but what new details do we have now?
Yes, thanks, Adam. Milwaukee woman's family members faced charges for beating and fatally shooting her on a sidewalk. 30-year-old Ashley Hudson was shot near MLK Drive and Villette Street Monday night. Milwaukee police say her 22-year-old sister, Aaliyah Frizen, got into an altercation with Hudson over a social media post and beat her with a bat. Her 15-year-old brother, Hezel Frizen, then shot her. The brother is charged with first-degree intentional homicide. He could face life in prison. The sister faces 1 count of aggravated battery. She could face 11 years in prison. Hudson's mother, Tara Hudson, is charged with obstruction for allegedly lying about witnessing the shooting. She could face 9 months in prison. The U.S. has launched strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, deepening its involvement in Israel's war against Iran's nuclear program. President Trump said Iran's key sites were completely obliterated, though no independent damage reports have confirmed that. Iran says its program will continue and is calling the attacks a dangerous war. Tensions are now rising over fear of broader conflict across the region. Taking a look at the roads with the WTMJ Time Saver traffic on I-43 northbound at Brown Street, it is a little congested and due to construction going on that interstate. Otherwise, no major issues, no major delays, and full freeway speeds across the system.
Traffic is sponsored by Angela Calais and Benefit Realty.
At Benefit Realty, pay only 3.5 to 3.9% real estate commission and get all the service that you should. Benefit Realty, you pay less for full service. Benefit-realty.com.
Here's your WTMJ forecast today with a high of 95 and sunny, near record high temperatures with a high of 95. Tonight, a low of 77 with clear skies. And right now in Milwaukee, it's 79 degrees. I'm Nazir Spencer, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 8:33.
And coming up next on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News, we are joined by the new Miss Wisconsin 2025. That is up next.
In 1964, we were making strides towards space travel.
Mary Poppins was the #1 movie in theaters.
And the Beatles were taking America by storm.
Which was long before I was born.
Facts. 1964 is also the year it all started for Richlands Tire and Service Centers. 60 years of continuous growth and more happy customers than you can shake a stick at.
Okay, the streamers are a bit overkill. It's just us in the studio.
Well, all right. But it's important to know accomplishments like these aren't possible without a dedicated team. So hats off to them and our founder, my dad, Dick Mitchke, for understanding the importance of customer focus.
Facts. There's no 60 years of anything without you, the customer, which is why our focus will remain on you and only you for years to come.
Thank you from all of us here at Richlands Tire and Service Centers.
Richlands Tire and Service, such a refreshing change. Richlands.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus.
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
By trading in that old mattress for a new Beauty Rest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hassleus Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. Plus, next day delivery and haul away of the old mattress for P.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassleus.com.
CertaPro Painters, the best in the business. WTMJ's John Mercure here. My wife and I were shocked at how thoughtful they are, how amazing they are, how they moved things that needed to be moved and got their jobs done fast and efficiently. Schedule your free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. Slots are filling up fast. Now's the time for your home or your business. Get on their schedule. They will transform your house. It'll be the best-looking house in the neighborhood. The teams I trust are at CertaPro Painters. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated.
I get surprised every time still.
So again, a little deceptive there from the Miss Wisconsin pageant in New Berlin last night. They announced the first runner-up, not who actually wins. So deception there by the announcer. In fact, your new Miss Wisconsin 2025, 22 years old from Racine. She is Willow Newell, and Willow joins us right now on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Good morning, Willow, and congratulations.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
So first of all, we'll get to a couple other things in a moment, but can I just say, are you in the camp also that when they do the whole first runner-up, and then I know there was a little pause and he did the little deke out too, that's got to be a stressful moment even amidst the excitement.
Oh, so stressful, but I was holding hands with the best Miss Madison, and it was just such an honor to share that moment with her.
So how are you feeling this morning? It's still fresh. This obviously just happening last night, but what's the vibe this morning?
It's unbelievable. I barely slept last night because I was so excited, and I'm just so excited to be able to talk to the news and meet everyone on my first day as Miss Wisconsin.
Are they already planning the parade for you in Racine?
Oh, my goodness. A beautiful full circle moment. I cannot wait to go to Racine and celebrate with everyone.
We're talking with Willow Newell, the new 2025 Miss Wisconsin. So, Willow, for those who aren't familiar with the process for this, it's a big event all throughout the evening and day, really. Actually, it's a whole weekend affair that now is in New Berlin after years of being up in Oshkosh for decades. Give me a sense for the prep that goes on behind the scenes between all of these different programs that occur throughout the competition.
Right. So there were 28 other amazing young delegates who competed across the state and won titles and are serving their communities beautifully. And it was such an honor to stand alongside them this week. We had community service events. We were able to watch our teen candidates compete, and we were able to just bond and get to know each other a lot better. This is a scholarship organization, so it's really celebrating the women who are in school, who have big dreams and big goals. And the week ended perfectly, not just because I have the title now, but because I was able to share such an amazing moment with everyone, celebrating all of us on stage.
And this isn't a new thing for you either, because you've been a competitor going back to 2017 through Miss America, is that right?
Yes, I started when I was 14 in the teen organization.
So now as we look forward, Willow, you are setting history as well as the first Black Miss Wisconsin in the organization's history. Can you speak a little bit to this ability now as someone who will be, as you said, speaking to the media, going across the state, participating in sit-downs and chats, and going to all these events across Wisconsin? Can you speak a little bit about the ability you have in a position like yours now to be a catalyst for starting conversations that need to be had?
Yes, this is really such the hugest honor of my life. There was a specific event as a local title holder that I went to, and I was at a school. There was a little girl who jumped out of her seat in the classroom, and she said, "Oh my God, you look just like me. Your hair looks just like mine." And that was the moment when I realized that I would have a huge impact on so many people. And of course, not people just who look like me, but really anyone who's felt like they've been marginalized or left alone. And that's not just in race or gender or sexuality, but anyone who's felt isolated. I've had an amazing opportunity to represent so many groups, organizations around the state, and I can't wait to continue to do that.
She's 22 years old from Racine and now holds the title of Miss Wisconsin 2025. She's Willow Newell with us on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Thank you, Willow.
Thank you.
And Newell will compete, by the way, for that title of Miss America 2026. That's coming up in September. They have all of the competitors from across the country and territories in Orlando. Big week to do in Florida. That's coming up in September for Miss America 2026. We were speaking with the 2025 Miss Wisconsin, Willow Newell. It's 8:39. We'll have a weather check coming up, and then it's time to honor another everyday hero.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here. Does your home's landscaping feel a little dated? Maybe the shrubs are overgrown or the flower beds have lost their spark. You don't need to start from scratch to make a huge impact. Landworks Wisconsin can breathe new life into your property with a professional garden renovation. The designers will work with you to refresh your plantings, redefine your garden beds, and restore your home's curb appeal. And while they're upgrading, maybe think about permanent holiday lighting. Give your garden the makeover it deserves. Visit the teams I trust at landworkswisconsin.com.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Imagine trying to take on one of the big car companies. It's not easy. Yet recently, one local law firm finalized the largest compensatory verdict in state history against an automaker, over $38 million. And it was no fluke. That same firm has been holding big car companies accountable for faulty designs that cause injury for over 50 years. Because Wisconsinites know who to call when it's a must-win scenario. They call Habish, Habish & Rotier. National reputation, hometown service.
8:41, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins today on this day 2 of 3 of the extreme heat we are feeling in southeast Wisconsin. It is not going anywhere anytime soon. If you had a feel for how things were yesterday in terms of heat, humidity, and also some of the breeze that we're feeling that's pushing all of this around, you kind of have a sense for what today's going to be, if not a little worse. The latest from Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky, 97 for the high today, and that's real temp. Feels like temp has been pushed up. Last I had seen it was 105. Now, Niz saying we might get up to 110. Feels like temperature. No festival today, as Summerfest is on pause now until Thursday for weekend 2, but if you have any Sunday plans outside, please, please, please stay hydrated. We have a list of cooling centers online at WTMJ.com if you need to just have a place to get out of the heat, especially if you're one of the thousands dealing with power outages. The latest numbers are down considerably, but we're still going to be potentially dealing with this as we now have another couple of days here of hot temps. 78, no relief tonight. 95, partly cloudy. There is a chance late on Monday for thunderstorms, and then we get back into the low 80s finally for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Will feel amazing at 75. However, each of those days do come with a chance for some rain, which I guess if you're dealing with today, that's going to be fantastic. And I'll check in with Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky coming up in the 9 o'clock hour here in Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. It's coming up at 8:43, and now time to recognize another everyday hero with WTMJ's Eric Bilstad.
An everyday hero is, according to Wisconsin's Morning News, an average John or Jane Doe who had no idea when they got up one morning they'd be saving a life. Today we head to South Jersey. Nyla Bennett. She's a 14-year-old girl. She was playing basketball with her friends at the park. It sits along the Delaware River when she heard a commotion along the riverfront.
I didn't know what was happening, but I knew something was wrong.
Nyla tells NBC 10 News that she knew something just wasn't right, just by the panic in the voices of the kids she heard screaming. So she runs over to the area, and that's where she finds a 9-year-old boy in the river. He had been playing with friends when he fell into the water, stuck in the current, and the kids were panicking. So was the boy in the water.
When I seen all the commotion and everyone screaming, there wasn't really many thoughts going through my head other than was to help that little boy.
Nyla says all she could see were the hands of the child out of the water.
I really wasn't thinking in that moment. I just knew in my mind I was thinking he's drowning. And so I just dove right in there.
She just jumped right in. Shoes were on, clothes on, didn't matter. She was going to go get that kid. She gets into the water. She holds the boy. She calms him down because you know how that can go. He can start to panic. A boater nearby comes over and pulls both kids into the boat. There's no question that this boy would not have survived had it not been for Nyla.
I'm so proud of her. I mean, she came home. It's like, Mom, don't be mad. I lost my watch. You know, it died on her. I said, I'll get you another watch. I'll get you another pair of sneakers. It's replaceable. The kid is not replaceable.
That boy is alive today thanks to Nyla. How is she feeling about what she did?
I was very shocked after it happened because it all happened so quick and I wasn't thinking. And after it happened, I just couldn't believe that it actually happened.
Shocked and thankful that everything worked out. Thank you, Nyla. We hope you do get a brand new pair of shoes. You earned it. Thanks to Nyla Bennett for being an everyday hero. Everyday Hero sponsored by Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living, transforming the culture of care. Eric Bilstead, WTMJ News.
It's here on consignment from over 10,000 nationwide partners. From very high-end, distinctive furniture, unique antiques and original art, to tasteful home decor that can fit almost any budget. Premium home decor priced right at 25 to 40% off retail prices. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
In Heartland, you're going to find a focus on distinctive furniture, unique antiques, and original artwork, along with tasteful home decor that can fit almost any budget. In Pewaukee, the focus is on kitchen, outdoor, and garden decor, and all of it is priced at 25 to 40% off retail. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor on consignment at a value.
Design Exchange.
Time now for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call, That's All Sports Desk. No quit for the Brewers, winning 9-0 in the Twin Cities on Saturday. Quit, though, for Minnesota.
And it's a swing and a miss. It gets by Contreras, and Lee just giving himself up. He's going to get tagged out, and that's going to end the ball game. He could have reached first base, and instead he quit. And Lee is done, and so are the Twins.
That's how it sounded on WTMJ. Yeah, not exactly a great way to go out for Minnesota. I mean, the fans, you could hear it right there. They're booing now. You're 37-39. When you're into late June, there's probably a lot of reasons to boo. Losers of 8 of their last 10 are Minnesota. Meanwhile, the Brewers now, they're riding hot on a 3-game win streak, 42-35, 7 games over 500. Interesting little nugget picked up by FanDuel Sports Network, Sophia Minnaert. The Brewers have been getting a lot of their run scoring done. They scored 17 in Game 1 and then 9 in Game 2, and a lot of it without the home run, and it led to a nugget from Murphy I wanted to play.
What do you make of that, of just how they're being woodpeckers?
Yeah, I love it. We're being little woodpeckers and probably should get in the weight room.
And that is the end of that conversation. We're going to have Dom Catroni on Brewers 360 tomorrow on Wisconsin's Morning News. We got to figure that out. Is that just one of those baseball terms that I've never heard of? There's so many of them, but I didn't know that woodpecker was a term that got used. It seems like they just knew what he was talking about. By the way, if you thought the heat was bad here, it's just as bad in the Twin Cities. Feel like temp for that game with basically no breeze at Target Field. It was 105 degrees yesterday. And again, it's going to be another scorcher today. Quinn Priester gets the starting nod for the Brewers. He'll go up against David Festa for the Twins this afternoon. Crew with a chance for a sweep. Our coverage begins with Brewers warm-up after the 12 o'clock news on WTMJ. A little bit of Bucks news. Pat Connaughton exercising his $9.4 million player option for the upcoming season. That, according to ESPN's Shams Charania, Connaughton had a deadline of Tuesday to make a decision on that player option. And tonight, it is Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Pacers and Thunder. Tyrese Halliburton, the Oshkosh native for Indiana, was a game-time decision for Game 6, but he says he's ready to roll for the decider tonight.
Pretty much in the same standpoint I was before Game 6. You know, still
a little stiff, a little sore rather. Good thing I only had to play like 23 minutes, so been able to get even more treatment and do more things. So just trying to take care of it the best I can, but I'll be ready to go for Game 7.
Game 7 tipping off, by the way, tonight at 7 on ABC. And then in college sports, an interesting story came across the newsroom yesterday. This from the University of Wisconsin. Could be a first-of-its-kind legal attempt with tampering in college sports. Now, if you had ever put the word tampering in college sports 15 years ago, people would have called you crazy, but it's happening now. UW filing suit against the University of Miami, claiming that the Hurricanes football team broke the law tampering with a Badgers player. This reported first by ESPN's Dan Murphy, claiming an alumni member of the Miami football team met with his freshman named Xavier Lucas, offering him money to transfer to Miami after he signed a 2-year contract with Wisconsin's football program. That alone is crazy to say. Signing contracts. 15 years ago, they would have called you nuts. But we'll be continuing to follow that. Badger Sports Updates, by the way, brought to you by Siding Unlimited Siding and a whole lot more. It's 8:50 on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts filling in for Libby Collins. We've got a recap of Weekend 1 of Summerfest. That's up next.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 24th.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes.
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness. Third down.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Tune in June 24th at 6:40 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check your local listings to watch the game.
Another checkup? Why are so many people getting new puppies?
Dr. Kim's veterinary office is littered with cuteness.
We are booked solid for weeks, but who can say no to a puppy, right? Oh, good boy.
She needs to find extra vet techs to get those pups some extra love.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, candidates can find it easier, so you can hire easier. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things. Like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed. From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
That is Japanese Breakfast, the BMO Pavilion headliners for Weekend 1, Saturday number 1 of Summerfest. It is officially summer. It's so weird that Summerfest is starting so early this year. The 19th was the opening day this past Thursday. Technically still spring, which someone should check the records and see if that's ever happened before, if Summerfest is technically started in spring. I know everyone gets all hot and bothered about the whole 3-weekend format versus 11 days, yada, yada, but that was weird to me as well. But I was at the Japanese Breakfast show last night, and apparently so many WTMJ teammates were at that show also. Eric Billstad, I got a picture of him in the seated area in the pavilion. I was in the standing room only section with my wife, so he had much better seats for that. Our own newsroom, Sean Brinda, was also out there. Now, Isaac, I'm going to bring our producer Isaac in. Were you at the Japanese Breakfast show, or were you elsewhere?
I was not. I am a Japanese Breakfast fan, but not in that kind of heat.
It was sticky.
Yeah. I will say I was very impressed with the BMO Pavilion's lineup yesterday, though. I'm looking at it right now, and of the 5 bands that played on that stage yesterday, I absolutely love 4 of them. And there was some great Milwaukee talent on there as well, with collections of Colonies of Bees and Kaylee Conway. Great lineup.
It's also nice that that pavilion is one of the many free stages. I mean, there are areas you can buy tickets if you want a seat that you can sit in underneath the overhang, but you just walk up and go check out someone like Japanese Breakfast. Speaking of headliners, I would argue the Weekend One headliner winner as far as stage presence and power, that's Hozier, the Irishman. You see him singing solo, but he's got this amazing backup group that's also with him, and also the visuals with this. If you've ever seen a Hozier performance, and if you haven't, I'd recommend just go on X. There's so many videos out there specifically of his performance at Summerfest. Brand new visuals debuted for his performances. So if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend it. The last time I saw Hozier perform was Saturday Night Live, and this is just umpteen times bigger than this. Now, Isaac, I'm going to throw this out to you. If you had to pick a winner, probably best performance that you either saw or heard of from Weekend One, what would you say?
So Weekend One, I think Japanese Breakfast is the main one that people have been talking about. Mm-hmm. So I would probably give that winner spot to Japanese Breakfast, personally.
Now, I know that Def Leppard, their opener on night one was also, they must be pushing like 80 at this point, and they still go out there and put on a performance. There's a cool video I saw on X. There were fireworks going up during Love Bites, which, if that's your scene, then that set the stage perfectly. The AmFam Amphitheater, by the way, what an amazing venue for outdoor music. It's been that way for decades and decades on the lakefront, and sadly, no cooler by the lake for Summerfest this year. Now, as we look ahead, James Taylor, by the way, was the headliner at the AmFam Amphitheater with Jason Mraz last night. Now, looking ahead to weekend number 2, again, we got the 3-weekend format, 9 days on the lakefront. You've got Lainey Wilson, who is the headliner for Thursday night, and then maybe this could be the sneak pick for the best headline. I know Hozier was amazing, but the Killers are back on Friday, June 27th. And Isaac, correct me if I'm wrong, every time the Killers have performed in Milwaukee, and they've done quite a bit over the years, it is always a spectacle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's their whole thing, is being an absolute spectacle. I mean, Mr. Brightside, you can't deny it.
I remember, I think it was the last time they did Summerfest, they brought a girl on stage to play bass in For Reasons Unknown. And that video, all the local media had to find out who that woman was that they brought on stage. Spoiler alert, in the music theory world, For Reasons Unknown's bass line is pretty simple. So that's a good reason they chose that song for that. If you're trying to play YYZ or something, good luck bringing some rando from the crowd. But the Killers, that is coming up on Friday, June 27th. And then Megan Thee Stallion, she's been a pretty regular performer at not just Summerfest, but in Milwaukee as well recently. That is the headliner on Saturday, June 28th at the AmFam Amphitheater. But lots of other, obviously, bands you can check out at Summerfest. It is the world's largest music festival, or billed that way for a reason. If you want some recommendations, our own Sandy Max is all over Summerfest every single year. She's got the Summerfest sound check she puts on every year. That's on WTMJ.com. You also have her recommendations, and she's got so many different varieties of recommendations based on theme, based on musical interest. If you text BANDS, BANDS, to the Siding Unlimited WTMJ talk and text line 855-616-1620, we'll send you Sandy's list of recommendations by theme. And I found it interesting that one of the themes is just based on the drummer from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Chad Smith. And that's just a theme. The Peppers are not playing Summerfest this year. Don't get it fooled. But there's a bunch of connections to their drummer, Chad Smith, that are at the gig this year. So text BANDS to 855-616-1620, WTMJ Setting Unlimited talk and text line, and we'll send you that link. Also, we've got some Summerfest tickets to give away, Isaac, and I think we're going to do that right now.
All right.
So let's see here. We need a number. We need a caller. Let's see. We had Miss Wisconsin 2025 earlier on the show, so we'll do number 5. Caller number 5 to 855-616-1620. We'll set you up with some Summerfest tickets. Isaac will get you all the details, and we'll send you on your way. It's 8:58, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Got top of the hour headlines next.
When you need commercial or residential plumbing service, you need it now. Call Quality. We have over a 60-year track record of taking care of people. And with over 60 vehicles ready to respond to your needs, we'll be there in a hurry, so you won't have to worry. This is Anthony Zaneski. For commercial or residential plumbing service, call Quality and get the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. At Quality, we offer the most respected brand names in heating and air conditioning. Armstrong and Carrier. it doesn't get any better. And our technicians are top notch. I know, because I handpicked every one of them. They're vetted and thoroughly trained. Hey, they're the cream of the crop. And that's why our quality workmanship guarantee is the strongest in the business.
Call quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call quality. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric.
I'm WTMJ's Sandy Max. What makes senior living at Three Pillars so special? Let's hear from my friend Pam.
Good friends of ours moved there, and they had invited us over for dinner a number of times. And they said, we waited way too long. You should come when you're younger. They had no idea it was going to be this great. There are just so many things to do, and it keeps you young. I mean, we have a lot of residents who are pushing 100. I believe they're there and still alive because of Three Pillars.
Schedule a tour today at threepillars.org.
We hope you've been hitting your spots on the mound, because if you leave anything over the plate, it's going to be mini-so gone.
For Collins, who gets into one to right field. Deep at the track, it is gone!
The Brewers head to Minnesota to take on the Twins.
Isaac Collins, a two-run blast, and the Brewers on the board first.
Our Brewers Radio Network game day coverage starts today at 12:35. We are the home of the Brewers, WTMJ. Breaking news as it happens. Stay up to date with your trusted and relevant source in news, sports, traffic, and weather. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 9 o'clock, it's 80 degrees in Milwaukee. Today, sunny, breezy, hot, and humid with a high of 97. Heat index up to 110 from the WTMJ Breaking News Center. I'm Nasir Spencer. Alongside Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, spoke at the Pentagon this morning. General Dan Kane shared more information about the U.S. airstrikes on 3 nuclear facilities in Iran late Saturday.
In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the president stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first ever operational use of this weapon.
Tensions are now rising over fear of broader conflict across the region. Extreme political rhetoric and violence have become everyday things in the U.S. Professor Emeritus at UW Milwaukee, Mordecai Lee, says the solution is finding common ground.
You know, as a professor of government, I want good government. I want good people of both parties and all ideologies to hold office. That's part of American democracy. And what I'd say to them is, please try to figure out a way to live with this, because we're living in an era where you might get threats, and they might be much more serious than anything I got 40 years ago.
Lee says calls for all lawmakers to have security detail is particularly alarming. Milwaukee health officials are warning people to stay safe under an extreme heat warning. The health department says prolonged exposure to the hot conditions can lead to serious health risks, particularly for older adults and young children. Wisconsin State Patrol will also be on the lookout for stranded drivers. Inspector Tyler Koenig tells WTMJ.
If they're stuck out there for a long time, obviously dehydration is an issue. If the vehicle is not working, there's a good chance that there's no air conditioning. So we do want to make sure that all of our motorists on the side of the road are safe and are getting the help that they need.
A list of cooling centers. Text the word cool to the WTMJ Sighting Unlimited Talk and text line 855-616-1620. Before taking off the summer vacation, make sure your car is ready to hit the road.
Just with that increased temperature coming up and the increased traffic, we do tend to see more vehicles broken down.
Wisconsin State Patrol Inspector Tyler Koenig says car trouble is not only inconvenient, but it can also be dangerous. Tires, wiper blades, and fluid levels are just a few things to inspect.
I don't think a lot of people think to check their vehicle before making that trip. I think a lot of people are excited about their weekend or their vacation coming up, and it's something that's easy to overlook.
He says if you become stranded on the side of the road, stay buckled and call for help. Neil Doyle, WTMJ News.
Repairs on demand for the cyclists as they raced around West Dallas as part of the Tour of America's Dairyland.
Neutral support mechanic Mark Nemiak says repairing bikes quickly as possible is a challenge unto itself.
If you're good, you can, change a rear wheel in like 15 seconds.
Bike changes are a little bit longer. It's very different than working in a bike shop where somebody comes in and you have all day to fix the problem.
During day one of Tour of America's Dairyland, Nemiak says he repaired more than 87 bikes alone. Now, he says, only 9 more days remain in the tour. Sean Brinda, WTMJ News.
Sports traffic and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 9:04.
Sponsored by Accunet Mortgage.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
After writing 3 unsuccessful offers, Brenda decided to make a no-regrets offer on this next property. She offered $35,000 over asking and promised to complete the purchase even if the appraised value came in as much as $25,000 below the accepted offer price. Why? Because she was tired of losing, and because her Accunet loan consultant showed her that even in her worst-case scenario, no additional money would be needed at closing, and her payment, which on this home was much more affordable than others she wrote offers on, would only increase by $17 a month. Brenda's no-regrets offer, backed up by a rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from Accunet, was accepted over several others. And wouldn't you know, the appraised value came in at the significantly higher than asking purchase price, which happens 9 out of 10 times in our experience. If you or someone you know wants help understanding what a no-regrets pre-approval might look like, get started by clicking on the blue button at Accunet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
A Blaine's Farm and Fleet original story.
Why is everyone coming on their riding mowers and UTVs?
I figured all the neighbors could use a break from yard work, so I invited them for
a ride-on lawnmower movie?
Or, as I like to say, a movie.
We've got the value you need to do things your way, like 200-count boxes of blue shop towels, just $9.99, and signature licensed automotive accessories 20% off. Rewards members save 25%. Blaine's Farm and Fleet, being original.
Want to stay up to date with the crew?
Mizorowski is the all-time leader for the Brewers for consecutive no-hit innings to begin a career.
Tune in to Brewers Extra Innings with Dominic Cotroneo after every game.
He used his other tools, the curve and the slider in particular. He was a pitcher tonight. He wasn't just a thrower, which is why everyone's excited about this kid.
Or listen anytime on the Brewers All Access podcast feed. We are your home of the Brewers. WTMJ.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call, That's All Sports Desk. It was a decisive game Saturday night as the Brewers won against the Twins in Minneapolis, winning 9-0. The Brew Crew continue their series from Target Field with first pitch at 1:10 this afternoon. The NBA Finals Game 7 is set for tonight in Oklahoma against the Thunder and the Pacers. The final game of the season starts at 7 p.m. Taking a look at the roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic, I-43 at Brown Street, I-43 northbound, it's very backed up, and I believe it's construction going on, going into 2 lanes rather than the 3 lanes, or 1 lane maybe, rather that, but I-43 at Brown Street is backed up right now, so be mindful if you're going along that interstate going northbound on I-43. Otherwise, no major issues, no major delays at full freeway speeds across the system.
Traffic is sponsored by Richlands Tire and Service Center.
Richlands Tire and Service Centers. 5 locations and all easy to find. Visit richlands.com when you're due for service.
Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Today, a high of 95 and sunny, near record high temperatures. Tonight, set low of 77 with clear skies. And Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 94 and a low of 72. Tuesday, afternoon showers are possible with a high of 76 and a low of 61. Wednesday, possible showers with a high of 72, a low of 62. And Thursday, a chance of thunderstorms with a high of 77 and a low of 69. Right now in Madison, it's 82. In Green Bay, it's 84. In Waukesha, it's 83. And in Milwaukee, it's 80 degrees. I'm Nizer Spencer, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:08.
This is Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News with Adam Roberts.
Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success.
Where do things go from here after an overnight attack by the United States? 3 nuclear sites bombed by the United States, and now the question begins, what is next? Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins this morning on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Hope you're staying hydrated and hope you are staying cool amidst this extreme heat that we continue to deal with. We'll have more later this hour when we're joined by Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky. We'll lay it out for you here on the show. But we begin this hour with the latest developments on the situation overseas. Overnight, Operation Midnight Hammer, or rather late in the evening on Saturday, this operation carried out by B-2 bombers from the United States. There were some deployed over the Pacific. This, as the General Dan Kane mentioned this morning at a press briefing with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, was all decoy.
As part of the plan to maintain tactical surprise, part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders here in Washington and in Tampa.
Largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history, that according to Secretary Hegseth this morning. So now we wonder what comes next. Already, Iran launching a missile barrage into Israel. That was earlier this morning. Injuries in Tel Aviv reported. The Houthis already making statements saying they will join Iran in retaliatory efforts in Yemen. We wait to see if other proxies are going to get involved. And the timeline of all of this is interesting. Secretary Hegseth, speaking earlier this morning, was asked by one of the reporters in the press room when congressional leaders were informed, because as we talked about on several shows last week, any U.S. attack in Iran would be, in any other context, you would think considered an act of war, which would require congressional authority and approval. So that was asked of the defense secretary this morning.
When were congressional leaders notified? How long before the attacks took place?
They were notified after the planes were safely out. Well, we complied with the notification requirements of the War Powers Act.
After the attacks, they were notified.
They were immediately thereafter.
These large bunker buster bombs deployed. And so, again, we revert now to what comes next. Abroad, there are issues alone, but even domestically, concerns about security and possible retaliation in the U.S. after these strikes. More from ABC's Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
One of the most immediate concerns is the threat of cyber attacks by Iran or hackers tied to Iran's proxies. The days right after Israel began its recent attacks on Iran, the Department of Homeland Security issued an urgent bulletin. And here's what it said. Iranian government-affiliated cyber actors will probably prioritize retaliatory attacks against Israeli targets in the short term, but they may also target U.S. networks due to their perception of U.S. support for Israeli strikes.
That's ABC's Pierre Thomas. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, also speaking earlier today.
If they're willing to choose the smart path, they're certainly going to find a willing partner in the United States to dismantle that nuclear weapons program. But if they decide they're going to attack our troops, if they decide they're going to continue to try to build a nuclear weapon, then we are going to respond to that with overwhelming force. So really what happens next is up to the Iranians.
Vice President echoing the warning that President Trump gave during his address to the nation yesterday evening, warning Iran against other attacks.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
So we have continuing coverage for you on WTMJ. This will obviously be a story that will be in your news feed throughout the rest of this week as we wait and see what that proxy response looks like and if cyber attacks or otherwise start to crop up in the U.S. We were already hearing from ABC late last night that authorities in New York were sent out to religious organizations and buildings associated with either Iran or Israel. Here at home, we are getting word that there is a protest planned for downtown Milwaukee. That's going to be about 6 o'clock this evening. We saw the No Kings protest last weekend in Cathedral Square and all across Wisconsin and around the country as well. So that is coming up later this evening. And again, on WTMJ, we will have plenty more throughout the week as this now continues to unfold and we see where things go from here. Coming up on 9:13, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts filling in for Libby Collins. We have sports in just a minute.
Healthy joints, healthy lifestyle. Vince Vitrano for Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Arthritis, injuries, wear and tear, common joint issues that keep you from doing what you love. At OAW, a visit to the doctor doesn't always mean surgery. Everyone is different. Surgeons, nurses, physical therapists work together to come up with a plan for you. Maybe it's PT, medication, injection, and if you do need surgery like I did, you know you're in the best of hands. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference. Book an appointment online at orthowisconsin.com.
The Cane Table from Penny Mustard is more than just a table.
It's hosted countless brunches.
It's where important documents are signed.
And where family meetings are held.
It's headquarters for homework.
Craft projects.
Board games.
And the wrapping of various gifts.
It's not about food.
It's about memories.
So it's gotta last.
It will, for generations to come.
The Cane Dining Room Table with 6 encore chairs starting at $61.97 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Hey, WTMJ's John Merck here. The paint on the outside of your house is the first impression that people have. CertaPro Painters painted our house and did great. They moved the planters around. They moved the grill out of the way. The little things are important to CertaPro Painters, and they always get it right. Schedule the outside of your house to be done. A free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C for your home or your business. The details matter to CertaPro Painters. They do it right the first time. They clean up after themselves. They leave your property better than it ever was. Each CertaPro Painter is independently owned and operated.
This week on What's on Tap, we're learning a new way to sip. THC beverages have arrived at St. Kate the Arts Hotel, offering a unique alternative to traditional cocktails. Served in perfectly dosed cans and packed with flavor, these drinks are designed for those who prefer a non-alcoholic option without sacrificing the experience. With something for every palate, from citrusy to sweet, THC beverages are quickly becoming a top request. It's a modern take on mindful sipping, now available at St. Kate. Hear the full interview on WTMJ.com and learn more at stkatearts.com.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call. That's all. Sports Desk.
Line to left. Terang broke back now. Oh, it's dropped by Bader in left field. Terang is going to score. Collins is going to try for third, and he's going to make it there with a slide. Terang went halfway, then raced back to third to try and tag up. Bader saw that, tried to be fast, and he forgot one critical piece. The baseball.
Gotta remember the baseball. Brewers Radio Network here on WTMJ. It was a no-doubter for Milwaukee in the Twin Cities on Saturday. Lopsided enough that even at the very end, Minnesota appeared to have finally said enough's enough.
And it's a swing and a miss. It gets by Contreras, and Lee just giving himself up. He's going to get tagged out, and that's going to end the ball game. He could have reached first base, and instead he quit. And Lee is done. And so are the Twins.
That conversation in the clubhouse afterward was probably a bit awkward, to say the least. Speaking of awkward, a funny nugget from manager Pat Murphy was asked by Sophia Minert, FanDuel Sports Network, about how the Brewers recently have been getting all of their runs, and there have been a lot of them in this Twins series, because the small ball instead of home runs.
What do you make of that, of just how they're being woodpeckers?
Yeah, I love it. We're being little woodpeckers and probably should get in the weight room.
Alrighty then. If anyone is listening and can text the Setting Unlimited WTMJ Talk and text line 855-616-1620, I need to know if woodpeckers is a baseball term that I'm just not familiar with. I haven't been able to find anything, and we don't have Dom Catronio on until tomorrow on Brewers 360. So I need to know if there's any Brewers or baseball juggernauts out there that know this term. I got to figure out what he's talking about, because I've never heard little woodpeckers used before by a manager. Going for the sweep today are the Brewers. We got Quinn Priester on the mound, Devin Festa for the Twins. Our coverage begins with Brewers warm-up. That's right after the 12 o'clock news here on your home of the Brewers, WTMJ. NBA news, Bucks guard Pat Connaughton exercising his over $9 million player option. That, according to ESPN's Shams Charania, reported on Saturday. Connaughton had a deadline of Tuesday to make that decision. It's Game 7 tonight, NBA Finals, Pacers and Thunder in Oklahoma City. There will be a champion determined tonight. Oshkosh native Tyrese Halliburton says he's going to be going, and he'll have something to say about who wins.
Pretty much in the same standpoint I was before Game 6. Still a little stiff, a little sore, rather. Good thing I only had to play like 23 minutes, so been able to get even more treatment and do more things. So just trying to take care of it the best I can, but I'll be ready to go for Game 7.
Game 7, tipping tonight at 7 o'clock. That's apt on ABC. And a little bit of Packers Nuggets. I found this one interesting. We had earlier this week that now the next step for the green and gold is training camp. That coming up later on this summer, coming up in July, as a matter of fact. We've got the Family Night scrimmage on August 2nd. That's at Lambeau Field. But earlier this week at the Don Hudson Center, a football clinic for girls taking place. partners at NBC 26. They're talking with senior Adaya Valevsky here from Appleton West as she participated in the 3rd annual Girls Flag Football Open.
I think we can all agree that it's really cool that we're kind of starting this a little bit. We were really excited to get invited to be here. So it's just a really awesome feeling. Like, we're all really excited to be here.
Pretty cool stuff over up there in Green Bay. Again, training camp for the Packers, that's coming up later in July. We got family night on August 2nd at Lambeau Field, and then it's on to the preseason and the regular season, and hopefully another championship season for your green and gold. Coming up on 9:19 here, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins today, and coming up next, it's the story you're talking about around the water cooler as you try to escape the heat, and that is how warm, muggy, and sticky it is. No relief today or tomorrow, but if you can get through the next couple of days, you may be rewarded later this week. We'll check in with Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky. He's over from the Storm Team 4 Weather Center to join us on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. That's coming up next.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 24th.
Uh-oh. Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes.
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness. Third down.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Tune in June 24th at 6:40 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check your local listings to watch the game.
Your current car, soon to be your old car. A new car? Better start looking. But you've got this, just like Associated Bank's got you with free credit score and score monitoring on most new consumer checking accounts. Because when you know you need to make a big purchase, knowing your credit score puts you in the driver's seat. You've got this with free credit monitor from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
With the ability to market luxury homes on a higher scale than ever before, Century 21 Benefit Realty has taken a huge step forward to tap into a global network of buyers. Maximum exposure to spotlight your unique home with our fine homes and estates marketing so you can sell it for the highest price. And with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission, you win. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. First off, our 1.9% commission structure helps get their foot in the door, and that's why agents like working here. But what they really like is having the strongest marketing tools available, with the resources to help them sell homes at the highest prices to satisfy their clients. Century 21 Benefit Realty offers what agents like most, and that's to help them be successful. If you really want to believe in the business model that you're representing, give me a call. I'm Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty. Call me, and let's talk about your future. Each office is independently owned and operated.
I'm Jim Token, president of the Automobile Dealers Association of Metro Milwaukee. Nobody can keep your car running smoothly like an Adam new car dealer. Adam service technicians are factory trained and use original factory parts backed by a warranty. Best of all, you'll find competitive pricing equal to or even lower than independent shops. A well-maintained car delivers maximum gas mileage and saves you money. Call an Adam dealer today because you're always better off at an Adam new car dealer.
Get an oil change and safety inspection today.
Understatement of the weekend, Isaac. Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins. Staying cool here in the Annex Wealth Management Studios where we got the AC running. That's not the case for everyone, though. And if you don't have AC, please find a place to get cool. If you text COOL to our Siding Unlimited WTMJ Talk and text line 855-616-1620, especially if you're one of the thousands that still don't have power across the state, please check those out, find a cooling shelter, and get yourself somewhere cool and stay hydrated, too. No such thing as too much water this weekend as we check in now with Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky following this heat wave closely. Niz, it's day 2. Where do things stand right now? I saw your forecast from earlier today. That feel-like temp of 110, that's up from where we were expecting it.
Yeah, we hit yesterday 109 in Kenosha, 106 in Milwaukee. But I think today we're probably going to be at least a couple degrees hotter than that. So certainly going to be an issue as we head into this afternoon. I would say very similar conditions as yesterday, but at least a couple degrees warmer by this afternoon.
So where do things stand with the wind? Because I was out at Summerfest yesterday, like so many people were, and I was also out trying to do some yard work for some reason before that as well. And that wind, it's basically like just a furnace fan blowing things around.
Yeah, it is. We were out. We were down in Port Washington, and we were thinking maybe we'd get a couple degree relief from the heat. However, even down right along the lakeshore, it was still well in the 90s. The big thing with this heat wave is we have a strong enough southwest wind. While the wind at least helps out making the air more stagnant or less stagnant, it's taking away any possibility that there will be any cooling near Lake Michigan.
Niz, we saw earlier that thousands were without power. At one point, I think yesterday, we were in the 25 to 30,000 range. Do we know if that's just system overload? Or I remember I was reporting this week on these danger trees that We Energies calls them, where these branches are hanging over power lines. I know it was so super windy. Is it sort of a combo, or what are we seeing here?
I'm not sure as far as like the overload on the system. I'm certainly that could be a possibility. I haven't checked on that, but we had strong enough winds yesterday, over 40 miles per hour, that can take down tree branches. Not going to do like major damage or anything, but enough that this time of year when the leaves are fully leaved, when the trees are fully leafed out, 40, 45 mile per hour persistent wind gusts will take down smaller branches and eventually lead to some power lines down in a few spots. So I'm sure that is a contributing factor. And then when you have obviously a pretty heavy workload on the system, that could do it too. And today I think the winds are going to be strong, but not quite as strong. I think probably more in the 35 mile per hour range. So hopefully that'll help things out.
Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky with us on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Niz, we just got one of our texters into the talk and text line mentioning also an important part of all this, and that's the dew point. They were saying one of their weather station, their yard showed it 78, which is the temperature. Yeah. Explain the dew point real quick for those that don't know and why that's so important with this heat.
I can believe it. So dew point, the basic is it's a measurement of how much moisture is actually in the air, not relative to temperature. So when you get the percentages and the humidity and stuff, that's relative to the temperature. The actual measurement of moisture is the dew point. So the higher the dew point, the more moisture in the air. It's the reason why we could have a 77 dew point that feels extremely humid, but the relative humidity, let's say that is at 60%. That's why when it's 50 degrees out and you have a dew point at 50 and the relative humidity is 100%, you're not going, oh, is it awfully humid outside, even though technically the percentage is higher. So that gives us, the dew point gives us a better idea of how humid it feels. So when you get in the 60s, it feels humid. When you get in the 70s, it feels uncomfortable. When you start to get into the upper 70s and close to 80, I saw West Bend earlier this morning was at 77 official number. That's when you're like in like rainforest type stuff. So that's when, like you're talking about the Amazon. So thankfully that's usually pretty short-lived, whereas they deal with it 365 days a year. So
good perspective.
For us, though, it's extreme. It's definitely noticeable.
All right, Niz, before I get you out of here, obviously we got to look at the track, and it does look like once we get through this stretch today, tonight, and tomorrow, there's going to be a front that moves through. There will be some relief, and it comes with the chance for rain as well.
Yeah, it does. A cold front drops down tomorrow night, which will put an end to the extreme heat. Now, we're not all of a sudden going to go back to the spring-like temperatures we had prior to this heat wave. But what we will get is probably highs more like around 80 degrees starting Tuesday and humidity going down a little bit. And just like the temperatures, it's not making a big dip down, but enough of a dip that we're out of the extreme territory. I think we're going to have dew points more in the 60s for the rest of the week. So technically humid, just not unbearable. But what that's going to do is actually keep our atmosphere unstable enough that we're going to have chances of storms pretty much each day this week, starting Monday night into Tuesday, because the front that does move through stalls out across northern Illinois. So we'll be close to the front. We'll still have temperatures around 80 and dew points in the 60s, which will lead to at least a chance of thunderstorms each day this week.
Good to know if you got plans for weekend 2 with Summerfest that comes up on Thursday. Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky with us on WTMJ. Thanks, Niz.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Adam. Stay cool, everybody.
You do the same. By the way, again, if you text COOL to 855-616-1620, COOL, COOL, will send you a link to all the cooling spaces we have across southeast Wisconsin. Again, the extreme heat warning continues today, runs until 7 p.m. on Monday. So this is going to be another 48 hours, give or take, with this. And then you've also got a heat advisory for the rest of southeast Wisconsin. That, again, runs until 7 p.m. on Monday. And can't stress it enough. Drink your water. Stay cool, limit outdoor activity, do what you got to do. If you got to work outside, if that's part of your job, totally understand, but take your breaks. You're going to need them because the humidity, heat, and wind combo is making it a pretty miserable weekend this weekend. It's 9:29 on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Got your bottom of the hour headlines next.
Before you go looking for an area rug that you'll have to settle for because you think that the one you really want will be out of your budget, come to Design Exchange, where you'll find a formidable selection of Oriental, Persian, and other wool area rug choices at 25 to 70% off retail. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor on consignment at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
If you're trying to find really good, high-end, distinctive furniture, the kind they just don't make anymore, then come to Design Exchange. But you better get here quickly, because the best furniture we take in on consignment doesn't usually last long. It may be vintage, it may have once been out of your range, but now you'll find it's priced right. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value.
Design Exchange.
Wholesale mulch? No problem. We deliver to residential or wholesale accounts, and we can supply you with whatever volume of the highest quality mulch you need. Nobody around here has more mulch than Erickson's. We'll deliver you a 1-yard pickup truck load all the way up to 100 yards in a walking floor trailer. And if you just need a little bit, swing by and we'll fill up a 5-gallon bucket or two. It's the best mulch you'll find. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection. Our decorative stone is available by the handful for pickup, all the way up to 24-ton load deliveries. And our stone is superlative. We scour the countryside, countrywide, from Arizona to the Carolinas. We search pretty much the whole U.S. of A. to find you easily the best stone selection in southeastern Wisconsin. See a rainbow of decorative stone colors to match any exterior decor. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection.
9:31, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins. You know, as the heat continues, people's emotions get a little bit on edge. You probably get a little agitated easier. We're joined by WTMJ's Nazir Spencer over from the newsroom. I have to imagine the story you're leading with here probably sent MADAC officials and fire officials through a tizzy from what they found in this home during a house fire in the basement. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Adam. An unconventional find for a house fire. Milwaukee firefighters found an alligator in a basement of a home that caught fire on Saturday afternoon. MFD was called to the house near 15th and Madison a little after 1 p.m. for a second alarm fire. The Milwaukee Area Domestic Animal Control Commission was called to handle the roughly 3-foot alligator. No people were found in the home. With an extreme heat warning this weekend, Milwaukee health officials are urging people to stay safe. Forecasts indicate dangerously hot conditions with heat index values up to 105 expected. People are encouraged to drink plenty of water, limit time outdoors, and never leave children or pets in vehicles. Cooling sites will be open to provide relief from the heat. A list of cooling centers. Text the word COOL to the WTMJ Siding Unlimited Talk and text line 855-616-1620. Another Milwaukee tap room is closing. Owners of the 840 Brewing Company have announced that they will be closing their doors for good on June 29th. Kyle and Stephanie Vetter says they're closing due to the challenging market and fighting stage 4 pancreatic cancer has become too much business for operations to continue. The Vetters thank the community for their years of support and say the brewery will release one final beer before shutting its doors. Taking a look at the roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. No major issues, no major delays. and full freeway speeds across the system.
Traffic is sponsored by the amazing Mineshaft Restaurant in downtown Hartford.
Enjoy the new all-you-can-eat Saturday breakfast buffet from 8 a.m. till noon for under $10 at the Mineshaft Restaurant in downtown Hartford. Just walk on in. It's big food. It's big fun. It's the Mineshaft.
Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Today, a high of 97 with the heat index up to 110. Tonight, mainly clear and muggy, low of 78. Monday, partly cloudy, still hot and humid with a chance of storms at night. High at 95, heat index up to 105. Tuesday, partly cloudy with showers, storms are likely. High of 80. And Wednesday, partly cloudy with chance of storms, and a high of 81. And Thursday, partly cloudy with slight chances of storms and a high of 75. Right now in Racine, 85. In Johnson Creek, it's 84. And in Milwaukee, it's 81 degrees. I'm Nazir Spencer, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:34.
Coming up, boats, boats, boats. That's next.
Loyalty, family. Few things are more important. This is WTMJ's Steve Scafidi and Loyal Family Renovations. They saved the day after a brutal storm in Oak Creek. Hail damage, yeah, I had a lot of it. But Jeff, Jake, and the whole team, absolute pros, made the entire process smooth as can be. Let's be honest, not everyone knows how to deal with adjusters. They handle all the questions, quick answers, top-notch customer service. In just 2 days, my roof was done. If storm damage hits, call the team that made it easy for me. Loyal Family Renovations. Visit loyalfamilyrenovations.com.
The 2015 Wisconsin men's hoops team gave us all a march to remember.
There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game.
On June 26th, enjoy an intimate celebration with the stars of the run with Made 'em Believe. Presented by M3 Insurance. World-class expertise and individual attention. Tickets are on sale now at uwhoops2015.com. Made 'em Believe, June 26th at the Orpheum Theater in Madison.
Over 60 years in business, with over 60 vehicles out in the field so we can respond ultra quickly to your emergency AC needs. When you call Quality for emergency AC service, you can count on a swift response to get the job done right away. So if the heat's got you to the point where it's just too hot to handle, call Quality and we'll get you the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. When you need commercial or residential plumbing service, you need it now. Call Quality. We have over a 60-year track record of taking care of people. And with over 60 vehicles ready to respond to your needs, we'll be there in a hurry, so you won't have to worry. This is Anthony Zaneski. For commercial or residential plumbing service, call Quality and get the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric.
Drinks.
9:36, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in the seat for Libby Collins today. She will be back next week, and we'll be hearing from Libby later on this morning on WTMJ. The wonderful WTMJ Conversations. I've always loved that show. Libby does such a great job, and we've got a good one for you this week. We'll detail that a little bit coming up later this hour. It is a warm one, a scorcher, whatever you want to call it, and now that the weather is finally turning the dial up on the temp, undoubtedly one of the king of Wisconsin's summer activities that we participate in any capacity is boating, whether you're out canoeing, kayaking, paddling, stand-up paddle boarding, big boat, little boat, every boat in between. We love to do it here in Wisconsin on our many great lakes and rivers, and you got to be safe, though, when you're out doing things. We see all the time accidents happen. It's basically like clockwork. Every year we get a couple of stories in the news that you just think if a couple of things had been done differently safety-wise, accidents could have been avoided. We explore a little bit more in this month's Driver's Ed with Debbie, taking a look how we can all be safer on the water.
If you're anything like me, you're just itching to hit the beautiful waters of Wisconsin this summer. Whether you're cruising on a pontoon, zipping on a speedboat, water skiing, or out for just a nice paddle, getting out on the lakes is what summer's all about. But before you launch into full-on fun mode, we should go over a little boater safety. To get the real scoop on staying safe on the waters, I caught up with one of the DNR's conservation wardens, Lieutenant Nick Miofsky, and he's really seen it all out there. Like one of the most common boat blunders, not wearing those life jackets.
If you're gonna be out on the water, especially as a boat operator, make sure your boat has the correct number of life jackets for everybody on board your boat. And make sure those life jackets are in good condition and make sure they're the right size and fit for everybody on the boat. So if you have children on the boat, make sure you have enough youth life jackets that are gonna be the correct size and fit for those children as well as adults. And make sure they're accessible at all times. We advocate as wardens that you wear your life jacket at all times, but they just need to be on the boat and accessible for everybody.
So life jackets are not just a suggestion, they're a key piece of equipment. And before you say they're too bulky and uncomfortable,
There's a lot of new technology in life jackets as well. There's a lot of low profile type life jackets that if you see us out on the water, we always wear our life jackets, and they're a lot more low profile than those bulky life jackets.
and that goes for not only on motorboats, but also when you go out on a canoe or a paddleboard. By law, you need to have a life jacket with you at all times. So no more excuses, just look for those low-profile jackets that are designed for comfort. Another must-have on board? A fire extinguisher.
Any boat that has enclosed compartments in it that can get combustible gases in there needs to have a fire extinguisher on board. It's just good practice to have a fire extinguisher on board a boat at all times, and that's something that we do look for when we do our boat safety checks.
Hopefully you'll never need it, but if you do, you'll be glad it's there. He also mentioned securing your boat's battery and don't overload the boat. Always check your weight capacity for your vessel. Since Wisconsin waterways are truly legendary, they can get packed.
Obviously, weekends are a lot busier than weekdays, so we tend to see more of our boat accidents happen on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame. So just being aware of that and being aware that it's a popular time to be out on the water and just be extra cautious. Another big thing is to check the weather before you go out. Weather can change rather quickly in Wisconsin, and just being aware of storms coming in, especially if you're on a bigger body of water.
And finally, if you're at the helm, there are some more important rules of the road. Water.
Anybody born after January 1st, 1989 would need to take a boater safety course. And that can be done online or in person. So it's a very easy course to take. And it's just like having a driver's license to operate a car. We're going to check for that. It is a violation if you're operating a boat without that boater safety certificate.
Remember, responsible boating means more fun for everybody. So grab those modern, comfy life jackets, check your gear, be mindful of the crowds and the weather, and make sure you're properly certified. Then go out there and make some amazing summer memories safely. You can make a stop on WTMJ.com to get more details on some of the DNR rules. Debbie Loziga, WTMJ News.
Thanks, Debbie. 941, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins. We'll have more after this.
Erica, it's good to see you.
How are things at our amazing Germantown location? Absolutely fantastic.
We heard you had a bold idea. What is it?
We're celebrating our 45th year in business, so I think we should give away some natural diamonds.
Wow, that is a bold idea. How many and how big?
3/4 of a carat. 9 natural diamonds, each one clarity enhanced for maximum brilliance. 1 diamond for each store.
How should we mount them, Erica?
We'll give them away as diamond pendants.
So each of the 9 Kessler stores will have their own diamond pendant to give away?
Yeah, and all a person will have to do is to walk into a store and register to win.
Can a person travel to all 9 stores and register at each one?
Yeah, why not? And people will have from now until July 28th to register.
I'm in.
Me too.
It's unanimous, and people should bring in all their old jewelry so that we can professionally clean it for them for free.
That makes so much difference.
For the location of the Kesslers nearest you, visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano talking with Dr. Mike Nolte at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Doc, a lot of people are hesitant to visit a surgeon for spine care.
The good news is that the vast majority of patients that I see and the majority of conditions that I can see can be successfully treated without surgery. And I don't want patients to think that just because you're seeing a spine surgeon means that you're going to be signing up for surgery. We talk about in my clinic kind of a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C.
Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference. OrthoWisconsin.com.
Lake Geneva is the Midwest's premier golf destination, featuring breathtaking views, crystal clear lakes, and rolling fairways. Treat yourself to an all-inclusive golf getaway with courses designed for all skill levels, luxurious lodging, distinctive dining, and a relaxing spa. Plan a Lake Geneva group golf outing, a corporate event, or a weekend getaway with friends or family. Their pros will help you plan a memorable golf experience. For info on courses and more, visit LakeGeneva.com today. Lake Geneva, it's always been the place for legendary golf.
9:43 Wisconsin's weekend morning news. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins. Keeping an eye on the forecast for you today. It is going to be another scorcher. 97 the high, up to 110 heat index due to that humidity and the wind blowing things around. Not nearly as strong as yesterday. We heard from Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Nesnansky earlier. But that extreme heat warning is still in effect for Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties. That until 7 this evening. And then you've got the heat advisory for everywhere else in southeast Wisconsin: Fond du Lac, Dodge, Washington, Sheboygan, Ozaukee, Jefferson, Waukesha, and Walworth counties until 7 on Monday as well. And then things will cool down a bit as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We got coming up for you a great episode of WTMJ Conversations later this morning, detailing a horrifying crime that took place in southeast Wisconsin 21 years ago. Terry Jandusa Nikolai is the person we're speaking with. She survived an attack by her ex-husband when he left her for dead in a garbage container filled with snow and stowed in a storage locker for 26 hours. She spoke with WTMJ's Libby Collins about how this attack began.
You know, now that I think about it, in hindsight, I remember him going behind me to shut the front door, and next thing I knew, I was clobbered on the back of the head.
And that's where the horror began.
Yep. I was hit several times on the head with a baseball bat and lost consciousness in and out. He had then gagged me with some rags or something. He had taken off my socks and shoes and pants and duct taped my wrists and my ankles and my face. And then I heard a bunch of noise, and he had a large Rubbermaid garbage can in his living room and proceeded to put me in it.
Absolutely horrifying stuff from Terry Jandusa Nikolai, surviving a horrifying murder attempt by her ex-husband, and she tells all with our own Libby Collins. That's coming up this morning at 11 o'clock on WTMJ Conversations. 9:45 on WTMJ Sports up next.
So how is that possible? 1.9% real estate commission? There must be something you're not telling me.
I hear that a lot. The truth is, everybody could do it, but they choose not to because folks keep paying more than they have to. I guess they just haven't heard yet that Century 21 Benefit Realty can make that 1.9% real estate commission promise on the sale of your home and stick to it. So I'd like to think that's going to make your decision easy. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and that goes double for your home listing, because that's how you're going to get the most value. By having a customized marketing plan specific to your property with professional photos, global marketing, and the built-in experience that Century 21 Benefit Realty has brought to the table since 2004. And being joined with Century 21 just makes all of the above stand out that much more. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated.
Time for a WTMJ Sports update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk.
And it's a swing and a miss. It gets by Contreras, and Lee just giving himself up. He's going to get tagged out, and that's going to end the ball game. He could have reached first base, and instead he quit. And Lee is done, and so are the Twins.
We're done indeed. Brewers Radio Network here on WTMJ. 9-0 the final for Milwaukee. That's now 2 out of 3 in the series against the rivals across the river in Minnesota. We can have a chance for the sweep later today. And we're going to have Quinn Priester on the mound. Great slew of pitching recently, by the way, for the Brewers. We, of course, had another excellent outing from the Miz, the Wiz, whatever you want to call him. Jacob Mizorowski started the game 6 innings perfect and then gave up the walk and the home run before he was taken out to a round of applause from the partisan Target Field crowd. It seemed like there were a lot of Brewers fans that made the trip for this weekend. We'll have a shot at the sweep coming up here later this afternoon. We've got it for you right here on WTMJ with Brewers warm-up starting our coverage right after the 12 o'clock news. Also today, NBA Finals Game 7. It's coming up this evening in Oklahoma City. winner take all for the Larry O'Brien Trophy, and Oshkosh native Tyrese Halliburton says he'll have something to say about it for the Pacers tonight.
Pretty much in the same standpoint I was before Game 6. Still a little stiff, a little sore rather. Good thing I only had to play like 23 minutes, so been able to get even more treatment and do more things. So just trying to take care of it the best I can, but I'll be ready to go for Game 7.
Game 7 tipping off tonight at 7. That's good timing on ABC. And some UFC news getting dropped late in the week. John Jones, this would be the guy, if you don't know UFC, widely considered to be the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. He's 37 years old, announcing his retirement from competition. The man at the top taking a leave, that according to UFC CEO Dana White, who made the decision on Friday. So one of the greats in MMA is out. John Jones retiring from competition. It's 9:48 on Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins. We'll wrap it up. We'll look ahead again to where things sit now with the geopolitical situation between the United States and Iran following 3 bombs dropped by the U.S. on Iranian nuclear facilities. We'll have a look at that coming up next and preview what's to come later today on WTMJ.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 24th.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes.
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness. Third down.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Tune in June 24th at 6:40 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check your local listings to watch the game.
If you're feeling vibrations in your steering wheel after reaching speeds of over 50 miles per hour, you should bring it into Richlands and let us fix it for you.
If your brakes are making weird noises or feel strange every time you apply them, you should bring it into Richlands and let us fix it for you.
If your engine light is on, you should bring it to Richlands.
And let us fix it for you, because there isn't an auto service repair job on the planet that our service techs can't fix.
Courtney's right. Just check out some of our Google reviews. A whole lot of stars means a whole lot of happy customers.
Proof's in the pudding. So whether you need factory scheduled maintenance
or tires, brakes, and suspension service, we've got your back.
5 conveniently located facilities, all AAA approved,
and all staffed by ASE certified technicians. I'm Brett Matschke, and the next time you're due for service,
bring it into Richlands and let us fix it for you.
Richlands Tire and Service, such a refreshing change. Richlands.
A Blaine's Farm and Fleet original story.
Sarah, how are you going to do a raised vegetable garden on this tiny condo balcony?
Grab that Craftsman drill and let's hang that trellis on the ceiling.
We've got the value you need, like $3 off Technor Apex Zero-G garden hoses, 20% off all Fram oil filters, plus Blaine's best price promise. Find the lowest price with us or we'll match it.
Upside down tomatoes, here we come.
Blaine's Farm and Fleet, being original.
You're back at the gym. Your new gym outfit? On point. Your new sneakers? Baller. You've got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with Access Checking. It's maintenance fee free with no minimum balance requirements. So when you take your first yoga class in 10 months, your body might surprise you, but your checking account won't. You've got this with Access Checking from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
9:51, Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News. Adam Roberts in for Libby Collins today. We'll have more on the unfolding situation between the U.S. and Iran here in just a moment. Wanted to touch a little bit quickly, though, on the situation with the weather. We had Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky on the show earlier, talking about not just the heat, the humidity, and the wind that's blowing all this hot air around. We had a lot of power outages during the day on Saturday across the state. At one point, 5 figures of people, 25 to 30,000 at one point without power. And we're learning a little bit more about what caused some of those outages. And it's interesting because I had a report on this very thing earlier last week on WTMJ. Remember, I was talking about danger trees. It's this term We Energies uses to describe these branches that overhang power lines across the state. And they're undergoing a big, massive operation right now to trim down thousands of miles of these branches overhanging. And we mentioned during our coverage that oftentimes during severe weather or storms or high winds leads to some of these severe weather outages we see. Well, we're learning from We Energies this morning, reaching out to us, that the outages are due to winds causing tree branches and limbs to fall. And I remember talking with Dave Magna from We Energies about just what makes specifically the ash trees that they're dealing with these branches on so dangerous to our lions.
That brittleness really is what causes the problem, because there's no root structure anymore, and they typically are breaking off at the ground line, because the canopy of a tree that's 50 to 60 feet tall, it really sways quite a bit in the wind.
Definitely, and when you've got 40 miles an hour plus blowing around, you're seeing the results play out across the state. Now, the good news is that most people who had lost their power have gotten it back. Right now, the number is down significantly, several tens of thousands restored to power, and right now We Energy is reporting about 2,000 people without power across their service area. If you look at the Wisconsin outage map statewide, it's just over 3,000, that including residents in the northeast and far northern parts of the state. But again, tough timing to have a heat wave and then also have high winds playing a factor as well. But the good news is power does seem to be being restored across the state, and it's good news because we've got more heat on tap for today and for tomorrow as well. Of course, we are also following this continuing developing breaking news that unfolded late in the day on Saturday.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success.
President Donald Trump addressing the nation Saturday evening after the military undertakes the largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history, Operation Midnight Hammer, dropping bombs on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. A lot unfolding in this development. 125 U.S. aircraft were a part of this operation, as well as submarines launching Tomahawk missiles from the sea around Iran and striking other facilities beyond just the nuclear ones. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history.
And so history now watches what happens next. We're still unclear as far as how far Iran could take this. We do know that they have launched retaliatory strikes into Israel as of this morning. That's the latest news from NBC. We're also keeping a close eye on proxies and who could get involved with any sort of retaliation. We know that the Houthis in Yemen have said they will join Iran in retaliation. And so now that then leads to, okay, what could we do if retaliation occurs specifically against the U.S.? It was earlier today, ABC's Jonathan Karl speaking with Republican Senator Tom Cotton. This is out of Arkansas, also chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee.
If Iran retaliates, should the United States target the Supreme Leader?
I won't rule any single target in or out.
So again, we have to see how things will unfold here. Meanwhile, we're learning more about these bunker buster bombs that were used in this operation. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, speaking at a presser earlier this morning with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the president stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first ever operational use of this weapon.
So precedent-setting in many ways. Of course, issues with U.S. and Iran, nothing new over the last 50, 60, 70 years, if you want to go back to the early 50s. Tensions between the two have certainly peaked and have gone into valleys at times. But now an attack has been made. The U.S. has made an act dropping these bombs, and now begins the process of watching and waiting. Will the proxies take action against U.S. bases? Iran has already said that was on the table should the U.S. act. We also have the threat of domestic threats from whether it's lone wolf actors, those who are not affiliated with Iran but are inspired by the regime. You have to watch a lot of different angles. Law enforcement, we already heard last night in the wake of the bombs, making moves to protect Israeli and Iranian religious facilities in New York City. No specific threat tied to any buildings there, but you just have to spark up that presence, and we'll see if that expands across the country in the days and weeks ahead. We do know in downtown Milwaukee tonight, there is a protest that's been planned for 6 o'clock, very similar, mirroring a lot of the No Kings protests we saw last weekend. Those will unfold later this evening in Milwaukee, and we would expect that many similar protests will erupt across the country. So a lot of angles to follow with this, and we will be all over it this week on WTMJ, Wisconsin's morning news, midday news, afternoon news, point taken. We're all over it for you here on WTMJ. I'm Adam Roberts, filling in for Libby Collins. We've got Reporter's Notebook, the show I brought back. That's coming up next. It's a good one for you this week. We'll hear from Brad Lane. We'll hear from Capitol reporters. We'll hear from WTMJ's Nazir Spencer, who has your top of the hour headlines coming up in just a couple of minutes. It's 9:58. The news is next.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus. I'm Weston. What's